Done by Yoon Podcast, episode number 36. Today we're talking with Cary Jack again. He's going to talk about biohacking for beginners.
You're listening to the Done by Noon podcast, a podcast for entrepreneurs who want to achieve more by noon than others in a full day. Serial entrepreneur Dave Ruel and his co-host Chris Lopez share the strategies that will help you optimize your productivity, performance, and lifestyle so you can reach new heights in your business and life. So if you're ready to become the most efficient and effective entrepreneur you know, you're in the right place. Welcome to the show.
This episode is brought to you by the Done by Noon book, the ultimate guide to achieve more by noon than other entrepreneurs in a full day. As a listener of the Done by Noon podcast, you can grab a free copy of the book at www.donebynoonpodcast.com/free book. But hurry, we've only printed a few thousand copies of this book, and when they are gone, they're gone. Once again, you can claim your free copy of the Done by Noon book at www.donebynoonpodcast.com/free book. Now, back to Dave and Chris.
Dave and Chris and my man Cary Jack, who's back by popular demand.
What's up, y'all? Glad to be here.
Yeah, man, it's been just too long, and people were writing, and we had to bring you back.
Yeah, man, that's what happened. That's why everyone stormed the Capitol, because I wasn't on the Done by Noon podcast, I guess.
Well, the media doesn't want you to know that, but this is the truth. This is what happens.
Yeah, maybe it's too soon to make that joke.
Right. Yeah. Or too late by the time that airs. I don't know. Shit might have, I don't know, it might be a shit storm happening in the world, and I don't know, man.
Right.
How you doing, man? So what are you up to when you're not podcasting by the river? I saw that photo shoot of yours. Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you. Well, it's now wintertime here in Montana, so I've been doing some snowboarding and not as much fishing, but still loving, getting outdoors. Went down to Florida for the holidays, saw my mom and chilled on the beach, soaked up some vitamin D, and, did a little kayaking and fishing down there. And yeah, just feeling blessed and grateful every day.
Is there some ice fishing going on in Montana?
Yeah. People ice fish here all the time. I honestly haven't, but I probably will this winter with a couple buddies.
What do you catch?
Trout, probably. I mean, depends on where you go. You guys ice fish up there in Canada, huh?
Well, yeah, where we are, like smelt mostly. So we do smelt fishing, and but the thing is, as we're recording this, it's still a pretty mild winter here in New Brunswick, so the ice is actually pretty thin. There's some fishing huts on the bay, but there's two old twins who fish there. They're 79 years old, and they almost died last week. Like their fishing cabin just sunk in the water, broke the ice and half sunk in the water, but sideways. So it didn't actually sink completely. It was just sideways, but there was 3 feet of water in there, and they couldn't get out. And they were like 2,000 feet from the banks, from the beach. Whoa. So they had to I can't remember what the story or who came there, but they got rescued and they made it. But yeah, it could have been dangerous. So yeah, not a whole lot of. I'm not going for now. I'm going to wait a little bit till we get a little bit more colder, because it's on the bay, right? It's salt water, so it takes a little bit more thickness to the ice to be good. But yeah, no, I can't wait. I can't wait to go. It's always fun.
Well, you guys got to come visit, and we'll get some fishing in here too.
When I can cross the border, my man, I told you.
I keep forgetting about that. Yeah, holy cow.
I know. Same thing. Yeah, it's. But you flew, Chris. I mean, you flew to Canada back, and but I haven't took a plane. It's been a year since I've been on a plane.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, and I mean, I know. I travel a lot, and yeah, it's been a year. Last time was going to Florida right before the pandemic, and yeah, I don't know, but I mean, things go fast. Life goes by fast with kids, so that's all right. I didn't even realize that happened. Anywho, biohacking. So we're going to talk about just the basics of biohacking for those who don't know what biohacking is, and we got Cary, who's a pro at biohacking, a senior biohacker, professional biohacker. But it feels like biohacking's been that thing that I feel like what happened in biohacking. I look at the same at what happened when the supplement industry started to really like become popular in bodybuilding, where you saw a lot of people doing the same mistake, is that
Mhm.
thinking that getting this and that supplements would make you big, that
Mhm.
taking creatine would get your muscles big. But in the meantime, there was no, they were not training properly and they were not eating properly, and obviously nothing happened. And I feel like it's kind of trendy now, like the biohacking world. But
Mhm.
kind of like, where does biohacking start? Like, who cornered that?
Well, I mean, a form of biohacking, I think, has been taking place for thousands upon thousands of years,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then I think there's been some recent discoveries and developments in the biohacking field. Probably the term biohacking itself was made popularized, if I was going to give credit, maybe to Dave Asprey. um,
Mhm.
I mean, he'd made it quite popular, and he coined the bulletproof coffee, and
Mhm.
which is basically putting butter in your coffee, and you know, it's like, oh, it makes you bulletproof. Which, hey, I got some bulletproof coffee right here next to me. I use grass fed butter. I use functional mushrooms from Laird's, and a MCT oil, and then a non-dairy creamer. But the reason, I mean, if people want to know why people even drink bulletproof coffee, is the fat from the grass-fed butter actually binds to the caffeine and it slowly dissipates in your bloodstream, so you don't have a caffeine boost
Mhm.
in like 1 hour and then crash. It clearly, yeah,
Sustainable energy.
spreads, yeah, sustainable energy over the next couple hours. So anyway, biohacking in one form and another has been going on for years. I mean, my mom is an OG biohacker. She's been a functional medicine nutritionist and a chiropractor by trade, for 45 plus years. And I was raised, to be a holistic biohacker. So before any of that, I think that's kind of where it started.
Because I think optimization, yeah, has been going. I think since the beginning of humanity, everybody, I think, wanted to optimize their lifestyle in some ways. But I feel like the term, biohacking, kind of
Hmm.
gained steam, and I think like a lot of people now are trying to, like, I get a hard time with the word hacking
I was just
somehow.
going to say that too. Yeah, it's just I think for me, like hacking sounds almost like a shortcut, which in a sense it is because you're.
Hmm.
But I also like really smart biohackers. I see as optimizers, like what you were saying, Dave.
Yes.
Like I see them as
Hmm.
really optimizing something. Like you notice that something's working, and now I just want to try to optimize this to make it work the best for me.
Yeah, because that's really why I wanted to like carry on the podcast today, because I feel like the up because optimization needs to happen when you have a solid base, right? And
Hmm.
I feel like now, like, people sell you biohacking is being sold as a thing, but I feel like people neglect like the basics of it, right? And I think
Hmm.
you understood that, and you're obviously have a strong holistic background and understand these things. But this is what I really wanted to show people, is that in order to optimize or biohack, you need that solid foundation, right? So what would you think is the requirements to, like, even like starting to biohack? What would people need in to get in check before actually starting biohacking or optimizing?
Yeah, I mean, well, and let me just provide my definition of biohacking, for the listeners out there. It really, for me, it's the use of ancient wisdom and modern science for total human optimization. And really, when it comes down to it, it's utilizing that ancient wisdom, what we know to be effective, really monitoring what you put in your pie hole, right? You're
Yeah.
like, what are you eating? What are you drinking? It starts there. If you want to really optimize, really be diligent with your nutrition and your hydration, right? And I know, Dave, you're a big proponent of this with the done by noon system, hydrating properly and eating right. And that's the cornerstone. And then you can layer in movement, which is another essential. And then sleep optimization, right? and then getting proper sunlight. Like people underestimate how important sunlight is. Then slowing down with stillness. These are the cornerstones. And then if you want supplement, taking the proper supplementation. And then I also like to layer in, sweat and shiver, making sure you're getting a sweat and making sure you're getting a shiver. And that builds mental fortitude with ice baths, and helps decrease inflammation with hot thermogenesis when you're taking, saunas. And those are just some of the basics. And I'm happy to dive in deeper to each if you'd like.
Yeah, because I feel like it's something that modern society has lost, like just the fact, because when you think about it, just basic things, right? Like having a connection with your food, knowing where your food's coming from, like, having the right of exercise, understanding your sleep, because you know that you're going to be hunting the next day and you need to be, in optimum shape. Those are all these things. I feel like what we do now as far as optimization was just normal back then, right? Because you needed that to actually function in the world, right? So it's, I guess, reconnecting to really the basics of things, understanding like how things were before, and reconnecting with that. And from there, you set yourself for actually a real, real path to optimization. You have something to optimize, always say like, a pile, like you can optimize a pile of shit. It's still going to be a pile of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. I mean, for me, biohacking now is the less is more approach. I really do
Yes.
believe people are overcomplicating it. People
Yes.
are like they're getting these wearable devices like an Aura ring. And then they say, "Oh man, my Aura ring said I slept like shit," even though you feel great. And then it
Yep.
psychologically, changes their whole mentality for the day, even though they slept great. And they're letting these wearable devices and this
Yep.
tracking dictate their happiness and their success and their overall performance. And I think people have gone so deep down the rabbit hole that it really is important, and everything's cyclical. So it will go back to simplicity. And it just is important to really start with the basics. And that's where I think a lot of people miss it.
Do you think there's a desire to come back to more simplicity in the biohacking world? Like to, okay, we've gone way too far. Because I'm thinking about that. Like now you think with what's coming with Neuralink and everything, like we're gonna enter pretty soon a pretty crazy era of, I would say, biohacking or human optimization. That's gonna come through technology. And I think we might see, like, when it comes to extremes like that, you're probably going to see a lot of people coming back to even more natural or sustainable, I would say, simple ways of being per se, right? So I think I don't know. I feel like we ain't seen nothing yet when it comes to all that. I don't know what you think, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. And I do believe there will be a fraction of the population that goes even deeper, that does participate in, AI and robotics and the integration with the human body, as you see with Neuralink and some other, biotech companies that are coming to play. I think there will be a fraction of the population that does go deep on it and that wants to live past 150, or does all the things to get on the anti-aging protocols. And then I think there's going to be an even larger fraction of the population that actually wants to get back to simplicity. And I think you've seen it even with the pandemic. People are taking stock in their environment. They're then moving. There's an uptick in rural living,
yeah.
and people are leaving major cities for a more simpler existence. And especially now that with like the work from home, bender that is taking place, like people are realizing, whoa, all right, I can work from home. Business owners are realizing I can decrease my overhead substantially.
Yeah.
And so I think that all plays into biohacking and health and performance, and how we look at life in general.
100%. I think we're going to have two kinds of humans. You're going to have the cyborgs, and you're going to have the peasants, in some ways, right? I don't know. Like, I want to be a peasant. I'm going to be a peasant. Like, I'm not going to be a cyborg.
Everyone's going
But
to go back to the basics. Yeah.
yeah, but I feel like you're going to see a lot more of that, of appreciation of, yeah, coming back to like the origins.
hmm Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I know for me, that's That's where I'm happiest, is when I'm in nature, connected to Mother Earth, hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, just getting back to the simplicity. Um, don't get me wrong. I've done all the things. I've done stem cells. I've done peptides and plant medicines and nootropics and all the things. I really, I went super deep. I ran a biohacking company for um, just about 3 years with my business partner at the time. And, we were on the cutting edge of a lot of this stuff and
Yeah.
learned a ton about it. And we were working with Fortune 500 CEOs and Olympic gold medalists and
Mhm.
Stanley Cup winners, and then soccer moms and people in between, people with chronic illnesses and, Lyme disease and cancer. And I learned a ton in the process, but even still, it's getting back to the basics, as you mentioned, Dave. That's where I think people are missing it, and it's important to address.
So let's say you're someone who's back to the basics as far as like, okay, they're hydrating properly, they're eating like they have a decent, diet, and they take care of their food, they exercise regularly as well. If you would have to pick up three main points or three main things that people could do to start biohacking, to start optimizing, where would you what would you do? What would you advise?
Well, number one, I'm gonna, default to hydration, because I think roughly 70 to 80% of the population is chronically dehydrated. And I know you're a proponent of this, Dave. You talk about it in your book. But just drinking more quality water and making sure that each morning you're chugging, at least 16 to 32 ounces of water. I like to make a apple cider vinegar mixed with organic lemon, mixed with pink Himalayan salt to replenish some of those electrolytes and help my digestion and enhance my microbiome. So that's the first thing that goes down. In
So
addition,
let's what's that recipe like for those at home? Like, what would you do? So you would, let's say you have a half a liter glass of water. How much apple cider vinegar, salt,
two
etc. You
caps. 2 caps. Start small. It is quite potent. Half squeezed organic lemon, and then you know maybe a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt.
okay?
I sometimes like to layer in, like, a different wellness formula, an elixir, sometimes a B12 complex. Like, it just kind of depends, what where I'm
But
at. And
water soluble B12, not that
yeah,
these like
exactly.
That's
tablet.
like
Not
that's in a
not
tincture
capsules.
format there, Cary?
Yeah, tincture format.
Okay.
Yeah, and then sometimes, so yeah, I'll put that down. Then oftentimes I'll take a, molecular hydrogen tablet too in my water, which is molecular hydrogen is the tiniest antioxidant known to man, so it gets within the bloodstream, and it's really powerful antioxidant that, it's often hard to get. But a lot of people, if you've heard the term like alkalizing your water, like the reason alkaline water is effective is because of the molecular hydrogen that it gets infused. So there's an actual company called H2Bev, that you can get these molecular hydrogen tablets, and you can just put them in your water.
So
So I'll
you
put
don't
that
need
down.
you don't need a Kangen machine
Yeah,
or anything like
exactly.
that.
I mean,
Just the
you
tablets.
can. Yeah, you can. And
Yeah, but
still, everything in moderation. Like when you're drinking, Kangen water or alkaline water, you don't want to only drink that type of water, right?
mhm.
And I recommend everyone testing their water source, and really
Yes.
just doing some due diligence, because it's important to test, not guess, in all biohacking. And same thing goes with supplements. Like, your ripped healthy friend, those supplements that they're taking might be great for them, but they have a different, genetic makeup and cellular DNA. So you need to test your blood work, right? You need to figure out what's lacking in your diet. um, so those are some of the
But
the
but that's
components.
such good advice there, Kerry, to test your water source, because I got a Kangen water machine. I love it. I've owned it for more than 10 years now,
Hmm.
and but when I moved to the new house and we had the well, so we're on well water, and
Hmm.
I had to test my water and realized that there were actually some of the like too much manganese in the water. So we had
Yep.
to go through install a water softener. But the water softener will, put some sodium in your water, but will pretty much demineralize completely your water. And we had to put like a remineralizer and everything like in the process to make the water actually good water to drink, right?
Yep.
Or re-optimizing the water per se, and then we can put it through the Kangen water machine. But think about it, like just having the Kangen water machine, which was like the biohacked water, but the water source is shit, defeats the
Hmm.
purpose. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. So yeah, 100%. Like about and keep testing the water too.
Yeah.
Like have like every year, like just it costs what $30 to run a water test. I mean, you can send that to a lab. Like I think here it costs about $30. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I mean, just to speak to that, like I just got this water source tested on, the ranch. We live in a little cabin on a couple hundred acres here. And we tested the well recently, and there was total coliform, a bacteria present, which is growing in the well. So now we have to shock chlorinate and basically clear the bacteria.
oh
And
shit,
and it's important to know these things. Like if you don't know, then you're just over time, slowly poisoning yourselves.
hundred
And
percent.
oftentimes, a lot of people aren't realizing maybe you're not drinking tap water per se, but even in the shower, you actually absorb more water from showering than you do drinking it. And there's shower filters that you can buy. I have one. There's also, if you like to take baths, there's bath filters. And so it's important to have these filters on your shower and on your bath faucet. So it's just food for thought. And then I think just to reference like the pricing around here, it's definitely not expensive. You can get variance tests. This one was like $275 for a full panel. It tested all the heavy metals, the hard versus soft water, and all of the inorganics, and it's just important to think about. So we don't need to go too deep on the water, but important first step, hydrate. Right. Second step,
So
oh, go ahead.
no, so I was at exec. So first one, hydration and the way to optimize that. Second point.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to get all cliche. I'm sure a lot of people would just say, oh, these are obvious, Cary. We can go deeper later, but let's focus on nutrition now, because nutrition's obviously an essential part of your optimal performance and biohacking. So with nutrition, for me, it's just eating healthy, organic, whole foods, right? I avoid the junk food, all the crap, like chips, soda, any type of like, fake processed garbage. If I can't understand every single thing on the label, I don't eat it, or if I can't pronounce it, better yet, right? So I think there's a lot of processed food, and really, what's also alarming is just the industrial agriculture boom and the pesticides and the GMOs, within our food source. And it's very important to think about this stuff for the longevity of your body and your children and their children. Like, what are you feeding them? And is it going to add value to their life? So with nutrition, I don't follow one diet or another, to be honest with you. I just eat, you know, when I'm hungry in an 8-hour feeding window, mainly fasting in the mornings. And then, sometimes I'll layer in like a 1 or 2 day fast. I think intermittent fasting is super beneficial. Back in the ape days, and when we were just evolving as the primal beings we are, there wasn't any breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You ate when you were hungry, and you ate when you
Or
had
when the
food,
food
when
was
you killed.
available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or when you hunted or gathered. So it's like people get so caught up, oh, I missed breakfast. Well, were you hungry? Oftentimes we just eat just because it's just, okay, that's part of our routine. But for me, I like to skip breakfast, and I feel I'm more focused and perform at a higher productivity rate when I skip breakfast, and then I just close my feeding window and make sure I stop eating 3 hours before bed. So it's more important, what you don't eat than what you do eat, in my opinion. So focus on what not to eat, and then just layer in all the good stuff that is a high vibrational food that actually adds energy to your frequency.
I love that. So, food, nutrition, there you go. So, let's say you have like proper, good, decent nutrition. You need whole foods and what would be like one piece, let's say, like to start biohacking or optimizing that?
Well, I think I mentioned it, but even then, layering in a longer fast, so that your body can recover. Um, Maybe a 24-hour water fast, every month or something of the sort. That's another piece to biohacking. Some people, our clients would do a 3 to 5 day water fast. Um, and you have to build up to it. There's also a fast mimicking diet. I know Dr. Luongo, we had him on the podcast. He has a fast mimicking diet called Prolon that Steph, my fiance, did, and it was super effective for her. And it's important to just reset, your internal biology and give your body a break. So fasting would be just another element of biohacking.
Gotcha.
Nice.
So yeah, I used to fast once a week, and I stopped doing that. I should bring it back, like just to once a week fast. It's been maybe a year since I haven't fasted properly. So yeah, I try to be like, I do these mini fasts where I just don't eat during breakfast and I have my first, meal at lunch. But I
Mm-hmm.
should get like a real full 24-hour fast back for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
My wife and I just came off a 10-day fast.
Whoa!
Yeah,
All
it
water?
was. It was all water. It was 0 calories. So yeah, it was all water. We do it twice every year. Usually
Wow!
just before Christmas, and then one time in June. And
Dang! How'd you feel afterwards?
well, so this is the third time we've done it. I felt great. I mean, you can really feel, depending on what your diet was like prior to that, you can really feel your withdrawal symptoms after, I think it was day two. Day
Mm-hmm.
two, so about 48 hours after your last meal, that's when you really start to feel withdrawal symptoms. But then after day two, it was basically smooth sailing. But it's really funny though, because you're almost like bored. Like you have all of this time on your hands. You don't realize how much time you spend eating or how many decisions you make based on food. So
Yeah.
yeah, but honestly, like after day three, I felt like I could go, another like a week, and then even after day 10, when I was supposed to break, I felt like I could probably go another few days. Like it was
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
It feels like after you're used to it, it's just easy.
yeah,
Like it's not a
yeah.
big deal. Yeah.
It is a
Mm-hmm.
lot
So,
of it is mental, I find, and I've been fasting since 2007, I guess 2008. Yeah.
but even there, I think once your body gets used to it, like it's pretty, like you don't get these crashes of energy or anything like that. It just becomes, actually you feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. Yeah. When you make that transition, the substrate transition into burning fat, primarily like body fat, it's a different beast. Like you feel good.
I
Yep,
agree.
for sure.
So we got hydration, we got nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the third one?
So, I mean, the third cornerstone, it would be a toss up. If I only had to pick three, it would be a toss up between movement and exercise and sleep, and I pair movement and exercise in the same category. So if I'm diving into, exercise, what's important is just moving the body every day. And it doesn't have to get complicated. Do what you enjoy. If you like to do, martial arts, do a martial art. If you like to do Zumba, do Zumba. If you want to just do body weight stuff, do body weight stuff. I try to just elevate my heart rate for at least 25 minutes every single day. And, if that sounds overwhelming, start with 5 days a week, and just build up your tolerance, your overall resilience, and your your performance is largely dictated by how often you move your body and how often you sweat. And if you're watching people sweat on TV more often than you're sweating, that's a large indicator that you're probably not working out enough. So
Like,
so think about how much Sports Center you're watching, or football games, or whatnot, hockey, you name it. And if you're watching more than you're sweating yourself, other people sweat, then you need to pivot. Um,
That's such good advice.
yeah, and it's keeping it simple, like, yes, I enjoy the gym, but more importantly, I like to just get outside and flow. I like to mix up all the martial arts I've learned over my years and just throw them together in just a primal flow. And there's just, for me, it's a non-negotiable. And I really feel a lack of energy when I don't get out there and move my body. And a simple trigger for me, you know, is every time I take a shower, I have a trigger where I know that I need to max out on either pull-ups, push-ups, or sit-ups. And so that's just been something that I've done for I don't even know how long. Naked push-ups, hashtag naked push-ups. So that's just a trigger. Next time you guys are showering tomorrow or later today, you get down there and do some naked push-ups and think of this podcast and just start to build in that habit.
But I think, that's the thing. I think when you reach a certain age, like I realized that, over the past few years, is that it's not just about the workout program or lifting weights or whatever. It's really about becoming functional, lifting weights or whatever, but it needs to be more based around what you ultimately want to achieve. And I found like just adding core basic movements, not just like isolating a muscle and benching, things like that, but
Mhm.
incorporating very like just movement, like
Mhm.
sport or doing something you're not necessarily used to, but that gets your body moving in a different way, is actually something great to add to what you're currently doing. Even though, like, let's say you're a regular gym goer and you're in good shape, try to add something like different, for like try to have some kind of sport, go play basketball, go play volleyball, go play hockey. I love playing hockey for that. And you realize every year I realize that shit, I gotta actually do even more of these type of functional training or movement type of training, because I like my body just getting older and older, right? And I realize that I'm not as flexible or I'm not as fast as I used to be. So it's a clear sign that I need to do more of that. Per se, Chris, I
Mhm.
think Chris integrated that early enough. You were always prone, no, but you were always like more of a movement guy more than like a muscle guy. Like everything that you were doing involved movement, control, flexibility, mobility. I
Well,
think you
growing up, the primary motive for me was just to be athletic. Like I played a lot of
Mhm.
sports growing up, and so I wanted to be athletic. It wasn't so much for me about putting on muscle or building muscle or anything like that. Although I know the importance of it and everything, but for me, it was like I wanted performance. I wanted to be able to jump high. I wanted to be able to run fast. I wanted to be agile, and so I did all the things that would allow me to do that, and that's just the way it's been ingrained. And so now, like I have a lot of bodybuilding friends that have put on impressive amounts of muscle, like or that have put on impressive amounts of muscle, and they're carrying that over into their 40s, and now they're seeking like the more mobility thing, whereas I'm on the other end of the spectrum. It's like, man, I should have put on some muscle when I was in my late teens and 20s and stuff like that, and instead of focusing on the athletic stuff, like I've got a little bit, but I'm like naturally skinny. So now it's funny, it's one of those things where I'm seeing the difference now.
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So
I think, yeah, just be functional, and especially I would recommend stretching. They say if you stretch every day, it can add 7 years to your life. So you can, yes, lift the weights,
mhm.
yes, do some functional mobility, but just at the end of the day, make sure you're stretching and moving the blood flow throughout the body. I think is another just key component.
100%. But see, guys, like listeners, we've talked like biohacking for beginners, but we haven't talked about crazy stuff. We haven't talked about the latest supplement. We haven't talked about the crazy technology. What we talked about today is just, it makes, it's, you're going to tell me like, oh, yeah, it's basic. Yeah, but are you actually doing that? Right?
Yeah.
Always ask yourself, hey, it's basic, but are you actually doing that? And based on that, starting, I think only then you can start going deeper. But honestly, like it all comes back to a sustainable practice of what makes sense. And from there, you can start going a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper. But only then, right? And I think that's important to realize that you have a guy like Cary Jack who's here, who's one of the, in my opinion, one of the world's top knowledgeable guys on this subject.
Whoa,
And this is
that's a
what he's
bold
telling
claim,
you.
but thank you.
No, no, I mean, dude, I mean, you're not nobody in that space. I mean, you know, you know your shit. You've run, I mean, you run things with Anthony, and I know what you guys have been working on, and it's impressive, right? And I think not a whole lot of people in the world can claim that. And honestly, like what you brought here today was just what people needed to hear, because you don't hear that. All you hear is hype. All you hear is like, do this and do that. And we're going to dive deeper into optimization when Matt Gallant's going to be on the show and everything. But guys, it is you got to start somewhere. You need a strong, good, sound foundation that makes sense
I
again
think
to be.
it comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the podcast, where it's like, it's the simplicity of things, right? Just keep it simple. Like, there's no, as much as we're talking about biohacking, everything that Cary had mentioned is just like basic. It's like simple principles of health.
Yeah, and I'd feel remiss if I didn't mention sleep, as it's such a key component of overall performance. So just make sure you're getting somewhere between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a night, guys. It really affects everything you're doing. And just a couple, little biohacks in regards to that. If you can, unplug your Wi-Fi at night. Highly recommend decreasing your EMF exposure, the electromagnetic frequencies. Turn off your phone, like either all the way off or at least on airplane mode. These little things, make such a big difference when you're not using your phone. Put it on airplane mode. I mean, we're not realizing how much these EMFs actually affect our cells, and it is essential that you mitigate your exposure. So, one other thing with the toxic blue lights in our homes, if you can, put on some blue blocking glasses. These are all
Mm.
basic things. I'm sure you've heard them, but are you doing them? That's
Is there
really
a
what.
brand? Is there a brand that I have like one of these? What's the Swannies? Jim Swannick. He was in business group
Oh
with Chris and and
Yeah,
I got.
I
Is
know
there like a brand that
Swanee.
you recommend?
I use Blue Blocks, BLUBLOX, I believe. Um, and they make a um, pretty good glasses, and they're actually pretty stylish. They got some aviators, so yeah, those are the ones I use.
Blue blocks.
Um,
Yeah, I know, because now they're transparent. Like the new ones are really like you can see like they're actually, because I remember the Swannies, they were like yellow,
yeah,
so
well,
you could.
they have three different lenses. So there's one for the daytime, one for more the evening, which is more like a yellow tint, and then more orange, which is for nighttime. So if you're strictly going to use them for nighttime, I'd get the orange ones.
Got it. Yeah, but during the day, that was why I was not even wearing them during the day. It was like sometimes I want to get out, and it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure about wearing like these cool glasses.
Yeah. And one other biohack I want to leave the listeners with is just, spend some time alone and get still. Focus on your breath. I know it's a basic biohack, is yes, but these little ones, like just focusing on your breath work and meditating for at least 5 minutes, it will change your whole perspective and your performance. So get mindful and tap in at least for 5 minutes a day.
Yeah, man. That's why I incorporate into the self care routine and
Hmm.
the methodology is that people, like, that's the thing. People talk about meditation, and it has a little meditation icon, but you don't need to be a full on fucking yogi master to just be mindful for 5 minutes and just focusing on your breathing. And when you do, you realize, like, I never realized, like, that I take the time to actually acknowledge the fact that I'm breathing. It's
Mm.
pretty, it's actually, and you know what? Sometimes it's gonna make you grateful for actually being able to fucking breathe.
Yep.
Like, I'm able to breathe air and makes me function. How crazy is that? Right? Because we take that for granted and we don't even realize that. But it's only when you take the time to acknowledge that and spend just the 5 minutes, these 5 minutes for yourself, that you can, make in my, like, that this shit compounds over time.
Yep.
It
Oh, for sure.
compounds.
Yep.
And yeah, it's gonna make you, so there you go, man. The secrets of biohacking for beginners.
Yeah, definitely the beginner. I mean, we just scratched the surface. Like, if you guys want to know more, I'm happy to help and add value any way I can. Just reach out. Also, I've built out a couple custom protocols for people, just more, I don't do it as like a business, but I have done it we've done it for years, or have done it for years now on my own. If you would like help with this stuff, optimizing your morning routine, night routine, supplement protocol, nutrition plan, exercise plan, and beyond, you can reach out. I've built out a couple protocols recently, and I actually enjoyed doing it. So if you do want help, here to do that for you.
There you go, man. And if you're up for it, we'll extend an invite to our Done by Noon Leader Circle, our membership site, and we're going to be featuring some of your work there if you're up for it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Anyway, I can add value to you and your tribe. I'm here to serve. And, also I talk about this stuff too on my podcast from time to time. It's called The Happy Hustle. Shameless plug there. Dave is on it.
Well, please plug yourself as much as you can.
Well, Dave, I got to say, man, that episode we did, I've had multiple people reach out to me and say, I bought Dave's book. It's changed my life. So seriously, I don't know if you've heard it, but I got some great feedback on it.
I haven't heard. No, this is the first time you tell me that. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, someone told me that yesterday. They're like, Dave's book is changing how I work with my team and everything beyond it. And I was like, wow, great.
Do they really talk like that though?
No, actually, you're right. That was just for dramatic effect.
Dude, I use the exact same voice when I get comment. This a voice to like there's a voice that goes with like a good breakthrough comment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I was doing this thing and I realized, oh my God.
Yeah,
I use the exact same voice all the time. Oh man. But we want to have you back because we want to avoid all these riots. So we're buying world peace here.
Yeah, well, I've got a few more questions. So yeah, we'll definitely have you back there, Cary. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here to serve any way I can, guys. And I'm actually hopping on with your old buddy too, Dave Wade Lightheart, for my podcast in about 10 minutes. So
dude. So you give Wadester a big virtual bro hug for me. I miss him. And
will do.
Tell him I love him, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. This has been awesome. And yeah, if you do want to know more, you can just reach out to me. It's caryjack.com. Everything's there. Links to my podcast. I talk about a lot of this stuff in my free ebook, which you can get just on caryjack.com as well. We go into a whole section on biohacking 101, and we didn't talk about a lot of the things, and there's so much to it. So if you do want more, caryjack.com is the place.
Go follow the guy. Happy Hustle podcast. Awesome podcast. You always have great guests, and you're a great podcaster too. So go follow Cary. Follow him on Instagram. See him fishing by the podcasting by the riverside, fishing and reading at the same time. No, but you're like, you're one of the most interesting guys that I know as far as like when it comes to Instagram and your lifestyle and everything. It's a pleasure to just see what you're doing on a daily basis, man. Like it's just awesome. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And I always appreciate you, man. And hopefully we're going to have you soon on the show. Chris, my man, take care of yourself. Take care. Be careful. Stay away from the bugs. Don't get killed by one of these spiders, please.
I'll try not to.
And I'll talk to you soon. See you guys. See you everybody. Have a great week.
Peace and love, y'all.
You have just listened to the Done by Noon podcast. If you are interested in hearing more, do not hesitate to subscribe to our channel. Click on the 5 stars or check out our free tools and trainings at donebynoonpodcast.com. Thanks again for listening and stay awesome. We'll see you next time.